Well, greetings. Good morning to all the online viewers, esteemed guests, members of our diplomatic community here in Washington, D.C., our followers and viewers around the world. Welcome to our newest installment of Perspectives on Trade, Nearshoring Opportunities in the Dominican Republic and Central American region. It's my distinct honor and pleasure today to have such a renowned and dynamic lineup of ambassadors as our featured speakers from the 6 Central American countries, and of course, the Secretary General of the Secretariat for Central American Economic Integration, SECA. I'd like to formally welcome their excellencies, the Ambassador of Costa Rica, the Ambassador of the Dominican Republic, the Ambassador of El Salvador, the Ambassador of Honduras, the Ambassador of Guatemala, the Ambassador of Nicaragua, and the Secretary General of the Secretariat of the Central American Economic Integration. My name is Andrew Gelfuso. I'm Director of the World Trade Center, Washington, D.C., and Vice President of TCMA at the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center. The world has endured so much and so many challenges this past year with the global pandemic. Global supply chain has been at the core of economic conversations. With the rising call for diversification of the global supply chain, Central America is well positioned to scale up production and shine to the world and the U.S. market. Today's ambassadorial panel discussion will provide background on how the CAFTA-DR trade agreement can be leveraged to offer nearshoring opportunities in the Central American markets. The CAFTA-DR promotes stronger trade and investment ties, prosperity and stability throughout the region and along our southern border, which has been very much in the news lately. Combined, the countries of DR-CAFTA represent one of the United States' largest trading partners, with $51 billion in total two-way goods trade during 2020, a bit lower than previous years, with exports totaling $27.4 billion, while imports totaled $23.7 billion. The United States good trade surplus with CAFTA-DR countries was $3 billion in 2020. With that said, we all know global economic integration relies upon efficient global supply chains, and a shift is being seen across numerous industry sectors driven by recent disruptions to the supply chain. Countries are beginning to recognize that a more regionalized approach to sourcing may provide long-term flexibility as well as low-cost production. However, integration can only succeed if there is cooperation among trading and neighboring nations. Like all of you today, I'm eager to hear and learn from our expert speakers on how their respective countries are playing an integral part in global supply chain diversification. We're so pleased to bring you this series of programming in partnership with Nelson Garcia, the CEO of the Washington Intergovernmental Professionals Group, or WIPG. As you may have heard me mention this before, for the past few years, we've worked with Nelson on organizing high-level conversations featuring congressional leaders and members of the diplomatic corps to offer our followers an in-depth and intimate look at business, trade, and investment opportunities in various regions of the world. Excuse me. Before I turn it to Nelson, I'd like to give you a bit of background about our work here for those of you that are not yet familiar with us. For over 20 years, our company TCMA has proudly served as the exclusive manager of the Ronald Reagan Building International Trade Center through a unique public-private partnership with the U.S. General Services Administration. Together, we've developed the Reagan Building into a hub for government, business, global commerce, and cultural exchange. Our center serves as the official World Trade Center of Washington, D.C., which connects us to 330 World Trade Centers in over 90 countries around the world, which some of you may be familiar with. Many thanks again for being here with us today. And now I would like to turn the program over to my good friend and a great friend of our center, Mr. Nelson Garcia.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for this opportunity to join you this afternoon among a great number of distinguished guests from the various Central American countries, and especially the Secretary General of the Central American Economic Integration, or SECA. My name is Nelson Garcia. And as Andrew mentioned, I serve as the founder and president of the Washington Intergovernmental Professional Group. We're an organization that was created in 2009, composed of congressional staff, federal agency staff, people from the private sector who handle international policy, as well as other experts from throughout the Washington, D.C. area. And we partner very closely with Andrew Gelfuso's organization at the Ronald Reagan Building. And we hope to, again, one day go back to live events, either at a luncheon or a reception at the Ronald Reagan Building. And we'll look forward to working with each and every one of the ambassadors here in Washington to make that happen quite soon. With that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker for this morning, His Excellency Melvin Enrique Redondo of Honduran nationality, who serves as Secretary General of the Secretariat for Central American Economic Integration, or CIECA. Ambassador Melvin Enrique Redondo provided an important contribution as a member of the team that negotiated Honduras' accession to the GATT and WTO from 1992 to 1994. Also, he was chief negotiator of Honduras for several free trade agreements, including the United States, Canada, Mexico, Peru, Colombia, Republic of China, South Korea, and with the European Union, among others. He represented Honduras at the World Trade Organization for the second and third trade policy review. He served as Deputy Minister of Trade and Economic Integration in 2005, and for a second term from 2011 to 2017. As Deputy Minister, he led the participation of Honduras in the regional economic integration system of Central America. More recently, he led forward the efforts to establish the customs union between Guatemala and Honduras within the framework of a deep integration process seeking to achieve free movement of persons and goods. The Council of Ministers for Economic Integration of Central America, or called MIECO, appointed him in 2017 as Secretary General of CIECA for a 4-year term. And with that, I am pleased to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Melvin Enrique Redondo.
Thank you again. Thank you very much for inviting me for this interesting conference about nearshoring opportunities within the DR CAFTA. I'd like to introduce my presentation saying that we've been talking about CAFTA or the free trade agreement with the United States since a long time ago. Please, if you put the presentation, okay. Thank you. The next one, please. As I was saying, the region, Central American countries have been talking about the free trade agreement with the United States since 1994. That's where the NAFTA agreement was negotiating, and that's where the first times where the region, the Central American country region, start to talking about an FTA with the United States. Nevertheless, it was until 2003 that formal negotiations started, and with the idea of the objective to promote more trade among the region and with the United States. It's no secret that the United States is the main trading partner for the DR CAFTA countries, and as I was mentioned, in 2020, trade between the US and the DR CAFTA countries account 51.2 billions. That it's an important figure, because if you take that into account, you can see that, please, next, please. The previous one, please. Okay, the next one, okay. The next one. If you take those figures, we can see that in terms of the US exports from DR CAFTA, the region is the 12th larger main partner from for the US. That is larger than France, Hong Kong, Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Russia. And in terms of the imports from Central America and the Dominican Republic, the DR CAFTA region is the 19th supplier to the United States. That's a very important figures because it stresses the importance of the region in terms of trade for the United States and the importance of the agreement. If we follow the previous one, please. The previous one. In terms of the trade flows, as I mentioned, the figures are very clear. And US export to the CAFTA countries amounts we lose it. Accounts for 27.4 billions in 2020. And in terms of US imports from the DR CAFTA countries, can we avoid to, I like to see just the presentation, please. Just a moment. Okay, in terms of US imports from DR CAFTA countries, 23.7 billions in 2020, as you can see in the figures in the chart, who are the main trading partners, and that takes Costa Rica and Dominican Republic, and are the main trading partners in the DR CAFTA region in terms of exports and imports into and from the United States. So that it's very important to take into account, and that stress the importance of the trade agreement for both the United States as well as the CAFTA, DR CAFTA countries. Next one, please. Next one. Nevertheless, as mentioned, trade balance favors the US right now. It's very important. These are figures from the US ITC. And we had take the full series from 2006 and 2020, since 2006 was the year in which the DR CAFTA entered into force. So it's very important to see the figures at the country level, and you see that trade balance favors the US. But despite that, next please. Despite the trade balance favors the US, Nicaragua has managed trade surpluses all during the 15 years. Agricultural trade favors the Central American countries and Dominican Republic. Textiles and clothing trade favors Central American countries and Dominican Republics, and new products such as ignition wiring and medical instrument and appliance are in rising. That is very important to take into account, because we need to go in depth when we try to evaluate or assess the impact of the DR CAFTA. Next, please. As you can see in the figure, this is how Nicaragua has managed trade surpluses. You see Nicaragua is the green bar in the screen. This is in terms of, from the US perspective. So the Nicaragua is the only country that had managed to have a surplus from 2006 through 2020. And in some cases, Costa Rica also have surpluses. Next, please. Agricultural trade favors Central American countries and DR. As you can see in 2006, US agricultural imports from the DR country accounts 3.9 billions, and in 2020 that figure rise to 7.5 billions. And US ag exports, you see this in this case trade favors Central American countries. So there is a lot of room there to growth in terms of the opportunities for the DR countries in the CAFTA. Next, please. Textiles and clothing trade favors Central American countries. Honduras and El Salvador are among the top 10 suppliers of apparel to the US. These are figures from OTEXA. Those are figures from the United States. So as you can see, nevertheless, there is a fierce competition from Asian countries. The DR CAFTA country has managed to stay among the top 10 suppliers in the DR CAFTA in the US market. Please, next one. And as well, as I mentioned before, new products such as medical instruments and appliance and electrical wiring are in rising, and a very special mention to medical supplies and appliances. As you can see from 2006, the main exports, exports from DR countries to United States were textile and clothing. And at this point, 2020, the main export are medical supplies and appliances. The figures are very clear. And in the case of the insulated wires, it's also a very similar situation. Next. Reloading CAFTA. 15 years have passed, and I think it's time to think in reloading the CAFTA. Trade, there are key issues where more in-depth analysis is needed. Trade promotion and trade opportunities. 99.9% of US imports from the CAFTA countries are duty-free under the terms of the agreement. Nevertheless, the trade is very concentrated in a few products, such as the one that I mentioned. There is a lot of pace to grow, and that there is need to assess and evaluate what the opportunities are in terms of the market and new opportunities arising in the US market. There are also accumulation opportunities. FTA, the networks of Central America and the DR have a very extensive FTA networks that provides the opportunity for accumulation with the United States. And this is something that is not very well explored in terms of what the opportunities are for the Central American countries. Trade facilitation and trade capacity building, it's a very important issue. Trade facilitation is a key strategic topic that is right now into the agendas of the Central American countries, and that is something that needs to be more assessed in terms of what the opportunities are for trade facilitation. Central America already has a Central America strategy for trade facilitation, but it's important to work together with the United States authorities, as well as introduce the trade capacity building element into the discussions. DR CAFTA also includes strong language in investment protection, intellectual property, and government procurement. There is a lot of opportunity there, especially in investment. And of course, with the strong rules, there is very well protection for the investment in the region. And also the DR CAFTA is a tool for face the fierce competition from Asian countries. I think that those are key issues that can be addressed in terms of what the 15 years of CAFTA are right now, and that those are the main ideas that I would like to table to you in terms of this presentation. I stop here with the idea that the main objectives of the CAFTA since the very beginning is to foster trade and investment between the two regions or among the countries that are participating in the DR CAFTA. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to hear any questions according to the development of the agenda. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Secretary General. We are going to go ahead and proceed with the questions. Again, a reminder for those participating in today's program to please place, if you have a question, to go ahead and put it in the chat portion of the screen, and we will get to them as soon as we can. And if not, we will forward them to the appropriate embassy and offices to make sure that there is a follow-up answer to your question. Before we ask these questions to our ambassadors in particular, I would like to go ahead and again reintroduce the ambassadors participating in this program this morning. They include His Excellency Dr. Fernando Yorca Castro, the Ambassador of Costa Rica to the United States. Her Excellency Sonia Guzman, Ambassador of the Dominican Republic. Her Excellency Carmen Milena Mayorga Valera, Ambassador of El Salvador. His Excellency Luis Fernando Suazo, Ambassador of Honduras. His Excellency Alfonso Jose Quiñones, Ambassador of Guatemala. And a longtime friend, His Excellency Francisco Campbell Hooker, Ambassador of Nicaragua, who we have worked with in many variations in the past. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. A quick correction, it is not in the chat room that you need to go to. You need to go to the Q&A section of the screen to provide your questions for the ambassadors. At this point in time, let me go ahead and ask the first question. And the first question goes to His Excellency Alfonso Jose Quiñones, the Ambassador of Guatemala to the United States. Your Excellency, considering the importance of trade facilitation, what measures do you think should be adopted in that field to enhance interregional and extra-regional trade? Your Excellency. Is Ambassador Quiñones, are you on mute by any chance?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to share some thoughts with you, and thank you very much for the question. As you heard from the Secretary of CIECA, the trade facilitation is one of the keys in order to get more prosperity to our countries. And I have always said that we need what we need in order to thrive is to be capable of developing an enabling environment that would allow us to be more competitive in our countries, more prosperous. And one essential component, no doubts about it, is achieve the enhance or enhance our capacity to trade more, both intra-regionally, but also with extra-regional partners like the United States. And in order to achieve such enhancing, we need to promote and increase trade facilitation. But the question is, how do we do such a thing? And I pose to you that the main objective is to reduce obstacles in the international commercial operations, and also to achieve that, what we need is to strengthen cooperation between our customs offices, so to reduce red tape, and also to promote the use of technology, so we can go streamlining and facilitating exports, imports, and also the transit of goods procedures among our countries. That in turn will make the process more efficient, transparent, and simpler, and obviously less costly. For that, we need infrastructure, we need technology, we also need human capacity, we need sound public policies and good procedures. So in order to get the process running better. And one example was just announced yesterday by the Minister of Economy from Guatemala. And it's the advanced declaration for goods to be traded between Central American countries and Guatemala. And the way it works is by having the exporters send information on the goods to be imported into Guatemala in advance, and in the form of a declaration, and the shipment gets to be cleared quicker, and the time would be reduced from hours to 7 minutes, and we know that time is money. This is just but one example of what we are doing in Central America to facilitate trade among our countries and with external partners. The Secretary Redondo mentioned the Central American strategy for trade facilitation, and that's one important component. So we can take advantage of the disruption of value chains throughout the world, and also be more capable of increasing nearshoring in our region. One final thought, and that has to do with foreign assistance to our countries. And we think that those areas, infrastructure, capacity building, sound public policies, is a key area where to invest foreign assistance. But in the long run, what we need is more trade. We rather have more trade than aid. And we see the increase of trade with our countries as a more sustainable way to help us achieve more prosperity in our countries. If we can be more efficient in our export procedures through trade facilitation, and have more access to the U.S. market on a wider range of products, we shall be able to attract more investment in our countries, and in turn create more jobs in our countries, and by doing so we'll become more prosperous, which is what we all want to achieve. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you, Excellency. Andrew?
The next question is for Her Excellency Ambassador Mayorga of El Salvador. From a regional perspective, and considering the importance of promoting investments for your government, what are some of the relevant opportunities for the Central American region?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. The region is the second most integrated region after the European Union. We have geographical characteristics that combine and produce this opportunity. Notwithstanding the ongoing pandemic. But we have these geographical characteristics that offer optional solutions for companies that wish to move near and relocate their companies in order to maximize business efficiency and reducing costs. Some sectors and niches that could be promoted, given the similar characteristic of the region, are as follows: textiles and apparel, life science, technology services, light manufacturing. The Central American region has CAFTA treatment to investors from the US, which means granting most favored nation treatment and national treatment to US investments and investors. However, the productive labor force of our region, competitive cost, and a relevant strategic location between our region and major cities in North and South America is a plus. We share the same time zone as US Central Standard Time and offer a logistic corridor of 2 oceans, which is close to the Trans-Pacific Maritime Route and to the Panama Canal. Where there is a will, there is a way. Our region has been through tough times and promoting investment to foster the right to stay in our country. Generating opportunities will have a positive effect on migration. The modernization of the universal right to not migrate and stay in our home country is represented through the insertion of our labor force into the relocation of global value chain and US businesses in our region. I want to add that nearshoring phenomenon is a window of limited access, taking into consideration the different factors that combine and produce this opportunity. Notwithstanding the ongoing pandemic, which impedes until now the return to business as usual. But the region is prepared to receive companies and to do business and also to trade. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And the next question goes to His Excellency, Dr. Fernando Yorca Castro, the Ambassador of Costa Rica to the United States. Excellency, from your perspective, what are the main challenges of the CAFTA-DR region?
Thank you, Nelson, for that question. The region has created an important trade platform that grants companies free and full access, not just to the United States, but to many other major economies around the world. One of our main challenges is to keep building upon the agreement, both taking full advantage of their benefits, but also working together to update rules, including new trends, like e-commerce, for example, and providing the necessary tools to investors so they can develop, grow, and flourish their businesses in the region. Regional connectivity through roads, ports, airports, and digital infrastructure is another challenge we still have. In this respect, a series of major initiatives to improve cargo capacity and to improve port and airport efficiency are underway in each country. In addition, single windows initiatives and standardization of customs rules and trade facilitations are key elements in the regional trade agenda we already have. Another issue of great relevance is improving security conditions, both as a region and with country-specified measures. Security is an area in which all our countries have shown a great interest to work closely together with the United States. We are clear of the need to enhance our skills in the fight against organized crime and improving the capabilities of both governments and court in handling crime of any kind. Finally, we see a great opportunity with a new administration in Washington, D.C. to work together in making Central America and the Dominican Republic real partners of the American manufacturing sector, making both the United States and our region more competitive in the world stage. A more active role of Central American and Dominican Republic in the production process from top to bottom can make companies more competitive internationally, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Andrew?
This next question is for His Excellency Ambassador Suazo from Honduras. How can we take advantage of the opportunities provided by DR CAFTA to address the common goals to foster prosperity and security throughout the region?
Thank you, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
To my fellow ambassadors and everyone here. I would like to first give a heartfelt greetings to my fellow compatriot, Ambassador Melvin Redondo, as well as my most sincere congratulations for his outstanding work at CIECA. We're very proud of him, and he has done a lot for Honduras. Even though that cooperation is necessary and important in some ways, long-term solutions really require a stable economic growth that leads to decent jobs and opportunities for our citizens, where trade and investments are the best means for it. A better economic environment builds a community where citizens can thrive and youth have the opportunity for a productive future at home. So we will need to strengthen our systems, and that will be critical to facilitate economic trade. We need to make them efficient. We still have some challenges there. Actually, as Secretary Redondo explained, a good part of exports are agricultural products, for example, and we will have to review the threat that climate change is posing to the region in that side. To take the opportunity, for example, in Honduras, of the reconstruction process presents an opportunity to build back our infrastructure and production in a sustainable way, and transforming and adding value to our production chains, and how we can then participate. At the end, the economic revenues drives the investment, and we should revise our contribution other than fees and other trade impacts, but to facilitate the processes on the economic interchange. So even though as we work together, as our region can compete better, that's for sure. A lesson that the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us is the importance of committed and reliable partners. And those, we are the best ones in we're near and we share values. So we must take advantage of the possibilities of creating global value chains among the signing parties. And the rule of the origin of the DR CAFTA allows for the productive linkages to be made. So nearshoring is the best advantage the parties have to benefit in short and long term from the treaty. And this is also something that we should really work in the short term. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. The next question goes to a longtime friend and acquaintance, His Excellency Francisco Campbell Hooker, Ambassador of Nicaragua to the United States. Excellency, good to see you. Given the transformations that are taking place, what can be done to enhance the benefits under the DR CAFTA agreement?
First of all, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here participating in this very important event. The disruptions and readjustments taking place because of the COVID-19 pandemic and its collateral effects on economies throughout the world presents challenges as well as opportunities for Central America to address the root cause of poverty and insecurity that for so long have afflicted the countries and peoples of the region. The expectation of possible relocation of manufacturing production lines from Asia to the Central American region ought to be seen as an incentive to bolster with added value the advantage of geographic proximity, moving beyond cheap labor as the dominant criteria to attract foreign investments. This experience with the pandemic underscored once again the importance of addressing common problems and challenges from a regional perspective, in this case, through the Central American Integration System, CICA, of which DR CAFTA countries are core members, along with Belize and Panama. Strengthening the Central American Integration System is of strategic importance to the creation of conditions for the region to be seen as an attractive nearshore investment destination through enhanced interregional and extra-regional trade and commerce, facilitated through the full implementation of a unified customs mechanism, along with the upgrade of transport, communication, and energy infrastructure. Likewise, the availability of a trained and skilled labor force will add to the competitive edge afforded by greater geographic proximity. The repercussions of climate change could also adversely affect the full potential of DR CAFTA, given the vulnerabilities of the Central American region to this phenomenon, manifested through more frequent and powerful hurricanes like the two that impacted Nicaragua, Honduras, and Guatemala in November of last year, as well as drought conditions hindering agricultural activity in some countries of the region. In addressing this issue, which is at the top of the international agenda, Central American countries have undertaken important mitigating and adaptation initiatives, becoming leaders in the development and use of renewable energy. Many of these renewable projects are being developed with investment from the United States, and there are additional opportunities available, especially in geothermal, solar, and wind energy sources. The remarkable progress in use of renewable energy sources indicates that economic development in Central America can be fully compatible with effective protection of the environment and a significant contributor in the efforts undertaken against climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Andrew?
Thank you. Our next question is for Her Excellency from the Dominican Republic, Ambassador Guzman. While the Biden administration, through executive order, is assessing the supply chain of critical and essential goods, companies are also restructuring their global supply chain. What can the region do to strengthen its position as a trusted U.S. trading partner?
Thank you, Andrew, for the opportunity you give me in this reunion, in this meeting, so important for all the countries that we represent, Central America, including in the DR CAFTA. The COVID-19 has confirmed that industrial and back office operation of the countries DR CAFTA quickly respond to the US demand. As a result, the regional exportation of medical supply, surgical supply, and electrical instruments have grown even though in the pandemic. We have shown that we are strategically capable to react to the potential crisis that might alter the international fragmentation production. So we are very important region that are very close to the States, and that is our strength. Also, we are a very important political and regional region and countries for the stabilization and the security of the regional political geographic situation. So we are asking, as countries that have such an important position, that we respond to the same rules that the United States asks for other partners in the rest of the world. So we think that we are in the frame of the Dear CAFTA, we are advancing very strongly in the labor, environmental, transparency issues. So that gives us a very important position in the work, in the history of the work with American companies. We are offering also, as countries, good conditions for the justice framework for the countries that we represent and in front of the companies that are asking to invest in our country. The Dear CAFTA region also have improved in many issues like human rights, environmental labor, and working conditions rule. So I think we have to communicate the Biden-Harris administration the strength of our progress on topic related to those issues and identify mechanism for the capacity building of these important matters. We have worked directly with US companies with long history of investment in our country, identifying their value chains to assess what we can move to the Western Hemisphere, particularly to the Dear CAFTA region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Guzman. We're coming up on the hour, and I'd like to invite Ambassador Yorka to give us some closing thoughts.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, I want to thank to the World Trade Center Washington, D.C. team for organizing this special event and for the invitation. Of course, also I want to thank to the people that has joined us today. And it has been a great pleasure to share the panel with His Excellency Melvin Redondo, Secretary General of CIECA, and of course with my colleagues, the ambassadors to the White House of the SICA system countries. The DR CAFTA region has enormous potential to become even closer commercial partner of the United States. The experience of the pandemic has shown the importance of certainty and relies the international trade. Diminishing risk with trusted partners in the supply chain is key to both business and the American public also. Central America and the Dominican Republic offers closeness, not just in terms of culture, but also because of its geographic location. Not only because of the monetary cost of distance, but also because of the opportunity cost of the time devoted to transportation, the risk of international supply chain broken when it includes US competitions, and because of the need of making your production more sustainable with a lower carbon footprint, which is also very important nowadays. The environmental and labor provisions in the DR CAFTA, as well as the rules of origin, were implemented to allow access to market while leveling the playing field our trade agreement has room for improvement, but still allows to generate synergies between America and Central American businesses. It provides legal certainty and predictability to business community. In addition, the member countries are close friends of the United States. We invite you to rediscover our region, to join these successful companies that have been outsourcing part of their production to Central American and the Dominican Republic countries, and now are more competitive, save an overhead and a labor cost, and have improved their efficiency. There are amazing experiences already. We have generated positive partnerships in areas like textiles, medical devices, and agriculture production, to name a few. But there is still room for many more, definitely. Thank you very much for having joined us in this event, and we look forward to host you again now in our countries as your new home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Yorka. Nelson, do you have any closing remarks?
Just again, thank you to all, first of all, the Ambassador Melvin Enrique Redondo of CIECA for leading us off this morning. All of the ambassadors from the Central American region and the Dominican Republic, thank you for joining us this morning as well. And thank you, Andrew, for you and your staff, and for all the staff members of the various embassies for coordinating and working with us to make this happen. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Thank you, Nelson. The pleasure was ours. Thank you, Excellencies. I'd like to thank the audience for joining us, and we look forward to hosting you and your colleagues for programs that we have in the pipeline, including our Women in Global Leadership series that we're kicking off on March 30th. I'd also like to acknowledge our ongoing virtual Winter National Marketplace. We currently have 43 embassies participating, including the Embassy of Guatemala and Nicaragua, and many others who have wonderful artisans participating in the virtual marketplace. We would love for you to check out their shops on our website at rrbitc.com and follow us at reaganitcdc.com. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks so much.